Good afternoon, evening, or morning, whenever you find yourself to watch this. Once again, I brought Zach Keilman, my friend again. We talked IFL expansion in the fall because I'm fascinated by it. Duke City Gladiators fan, and now that I'm back in the Southwest, about 4 hours away from the Duke City Gladiators, but also 4 hours away from the Tucson Sugar Skulls. There's some
Oh.
decisions to be made, and then not to mention, I spent 10 years of my childhood in Worcester, Massachusetts, home of the Massachusetts Pirates. So very divided interest in the IFL. But I came across some IFL news that interested me, and we're gonna dig into that. But before we start, Zach, how's everything going? How's the I guess the USFL talk and all the NAL talk too as well.
Right. No, things have been moving along. USFL is mostly my expertise right now. I started a different show. I put Gridiron Gallery kind of on the not the back burner, but on pause to help start a really kind of like a passion project with this with the USFL podcast. Just talking the all things the league. We've gotten only 5 episodes in, but we've gotten a lot of interest with the show already, and it's been fun. Been doing this with a buddy of mine over at Pro Football Newsroom, Stefan Raychuk. Shout out to him, by the way. And so I've been doing that, and then inside the walls with the NAL conversation, just doing biweekly shows, kind of getting what we can. That season starts in April, just after the IFL and CIF kickoff.
Yeah, it's so exciting, honestly. There's so much football to be played. And honestly, I was telling my 11-year-old brother too in the car picking up from school last week that honestly, the IFL, especially the IFL too with the national TV deal they have with Stadium, they're in a good position this spring with baseball on the wayside at least. Because in those summer months, you just got the finals. For basketball, but it doesn't look like the MLB is going to work out the lockout. So it's an exciting time for the IFL.
Yes, it is. That is a piece that you want to be watching out for if you're any type of football fan, or if you're really like a baseball fan. If you want some alternative content to watch, there's other sports, of course, basketball and hockey. But look, football. If you love the sport already, and if you want other avenues, arena and indoor is a great way of doing it. Now the USFL is kicking off too, April 16th. So like us in that community, we're like, oh my god, this would be a huge boost. Sorry for MLB fans out there. I would not want to lock out in any case. I hope they work it out still. But viewership wise, that's a nice stats boost, you would think, if that happens. And I think people could look for other avenues for entertainment. Not even IFL and NAL you can add in as well, but fan control football, that's on Twitch. As much as I have my own opinions on fan control football in certain elements, it is, it's fascinating to watch. So could help out that as well.
Absolutely fascinating to watch and take part of course, as
That's
well.
true.
So it's an exciting time. I sound like a broken record, I guess, but let's dig into this topic that we're talking about today.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm all Worcester'd out right here with my Worcester outfit because the Massachusetts Pirates, excuse me, signed David Pindell, UConn great, and that's part of the reason too. You mentioned if you're looking for alternative content, it's just great remembering dudes content. If
Mm-hmm.
you see guys that you haven't seen in a while. I'm a huge college football fan, so like seeing these names, like, oh man, I remember him. Glad to see him playing football still. But anyway, David Pindell, the multifaceted quarterback for UConn in 2016 and 2017, signed with the Massachusetts Pirates. And Pindell, don't let him being from UConn fool you. Pindell put up some impressive stats. His tape in college was impressive too. Ran for over 1,100 yards with sacks, granted, in his senior year at UConn, and really an electric player. But as we were talking beforehand, the Pirates do have Alejandro Benefield, who is a great quarterback in his own right. You look at his rushing stats in his own right in the Arena League as well. 75 carries, 19 touchdowns. So every fourth carry was a Benefield touchdown. So Zach, I want to get your thoughts on the signing and the potential quarterback battle in play.
Right, right. So the signing, I'll be frank. To me, it pops out because I was assuming that David Pindell would be fighting for a starting job in Albany, and I say that, and I'm talking the Albany Empire for those that want clarification. The NAL team in the rival league to the IFL. I thought he would be fighting for that and had a good shot at that starting job. And even though Mike Faithful is going to be there, who's been a veteran in the scene, has won a championship at the very least in arena leagues of sort, he'd be competing with that. I thought because he's already been on that roster 1 year, he was with Tom Manas for a season. Tommy Grady retires, so you have someone in your system again. Why not? And seeing him move over to Massachusetts, who re-signed Alejandro Benefield earlier this offseason. So they locked down their guy behind the center who helped lead them to a championship over the Rattlers last year. It kind of makes me scratch my head because this is someone I could see getting a starting job, and maybe there is a different opportunity or something went wrong in Albany. I can't confirm that either way. I won't come on and say that, but that is the part that gets me the most is you have that potential job that you can start for with the in already and the extra year under your belt with the coaching staff. Why move on? The only thing I can think of is maybe perhaps that the IFL better suits his skill set. As you said, he's an explosive running quarterback. If there's one thing I can say about the IFL that the NAL does not have as much of, is that the freedom for a running quarterback is much more expanded upon in the IFL compared to the league he was previously in. And that's mainly based just on rule set as well. So that's my angle. Fascinating that he joined in. I'm not sure if it's a pure quarterback competition, but if anything, it's great depth for the time.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I mean, you mentioned the rules. Can you elaborate on some of the rules? Because for me, I thought there is. I mean, all leagues work for all like the NAL and the IFL work from like very similar rules in terms of defensive schemes and whatnot.
Right. So it's a bit different in terms. So there's indoor football is different than say like arena, and even then, NAL is not pure arena football. I can get into really big semantics on this. The defensive aspects are what really are key. So for the NAL, they try and follow more traditional arena football league rules, and one of the key aspects of that kind of locks in a quarterback it's not as friendly for mobile QBs is that you have a jack linebacker who is stuck in a box it's about 2 to 3 yards from the line of scrimmage back, and he kind of has to stay there until a quarterback breaks out of the pocket or the play starts breaking out of said pocket. With the IFL, they are designing the league as if it's essentially as close to the outdoor game as possible. So those linebackers aren't exactly locked in. They can move around more freely. Thus, if they're already on an assignment and they start moving out, generally running quarterbacks like a Drew Powell have a little more freedom to escape the pocket. You have less of, if you have, say, a blitz, which, by the way, IFL is a little more liberal when it comes to how many people can blitz in the league. That allows for an escape alley, which then allows for big chunk yardage. That's one of the reasons that, and I keep bringing Drew Powell up because he's kind of the example of how you do this and how the league can use running quarterbacks better. And even for David Pindell's point, fan control football kind of has a similar way that they run their style of indoor, where the linebackers are more free roaming, defenders can more move around the secondary like they do in the NFL, like outdoor games, So when a pocket breaks down, there's not a linebacker sitting there waiting to smack you. He's basically doing an assignment. So the NAL essentially locks that spot in unless you break out of contain. The IFL, it's free roaming, free game, more blitz options. And so if you want to burn someone, you find that escape alley. That's where I'm thinking Pindell fits better in this, is because those alleys are a lot more present in this league.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the linebacker because I played the arena football video game, grew up playing that game as a kid, and I remember always getting penalties for moving the linebacker out of the
Yep.
box. So that's something I
Gotta
was
stay in
not
the
aware
box,
of.
man. Don't, as we say on Inside the Walls, don't be a jack out of the box. That is a end phrase we do all the time because you're gonna get penalized for that, and you're gonna get ragged on. So, that's an NAL rule. They adopted from the AFL, and it's one of those things that makes between arena and indoor. If you go and talk in those communities, it is a sticking point. People do recognize them as different games, even though they are extremely similar on the surface.
Yeah, no, that's good to know because I'm sure a lot of the listener base that our usual podcast, go caters towards does not know that. I mean, they just see arena leagues and all the same, just different geography. But even myself too. I mean, I had to get my memory jogged a bit. But a question I do have with the Pindell signing is, do you think he gets used in sort of a wildcat capacity? I mean, how many teams in the IFL run wildcat sets that you've noticed?
I can't. That's a tough question. I can't say off the top of my head. In my experience, and there are others that have watched way more games than I have, but in the time I've started diving into these leagues in the last 2 to 3 years, like my recent kind of like researching, if you will, I can't really say I have. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's impossible. You got to think of it as reporting like a receiver. So you would just be sacrificing that. I mean, you could, in theory, do it like if you want to do a design run play where Pindell is your guy. Yeah, you can do that. The IFL would allow you to do so. It's possible. Technically you can do it in the NAL as well if you wanted. But again, that rule set, it's more you're setting yourself up to where you want short yardage, large, beefy running backs. Whereas in the IFL, they want the shifty standard running backs because, again, that freedom on the defensive side allows you to then more kind of do as you please, I guess. Maybe. They might. I don't think that's completely impossible. I can't say off the top of my head I've seen that example used in the game. Maybe it does. I like creativity, so you never know. But again, I think at the very least you have a pretty good backup that's ready to go if Benefield happens to go down this season. And I mean that's not bound to happen. That's not guaranteed to happen. But if you want an example, Jacksonville Sharks last year, Mike Faithful, funny enough, who is going to essentially be starting now that Pindell's gone, he went down with an ACL tear against the Orlando Predators playing as Jacksonville Sharks quarterback week 1 last year. And the Sharks were scrambling for a backup option all season. It actually derailed their season for the most part. They just couldn't consistently get QB play. So Pindell, being in that option, being in now an arena league or indoor league of any facet the last 2 years, because he was with FCF before going to the NAL after that season was concluded. So yeah, that's wide open now.
No, I mean it's always good to have a backup plan. I mean we see it in all levels of football too, and that's a great point you make as well too. One question I do have, and this is what drew me to this story, is I'm always thinking about sports, I guess, in a sort of geographic, historical, even economic type of way too. So
Yeah.
I mean David Pindell played at UConn, of course, we mentioned
Mm-hmm.
before. UConn being an hour away, or I guess their stadium, Rentschler Field, being an hour away in Hartford from Worcester. Do you see this as sort of a ticket selling move? Do you think it'll aid ticket sales having a guy from not only a program nearby, but a big program?
I think this comes in and ties into what do you do with these leagues? What's the best way of getting fans in the stands and connecting with your audience more on a local level? And so getting people that are in the local markets, I think, helps. And I think that's why they advertised it so much is that David Pindell, you know, in recent UConn history, he's kind of one of the best quarterbacks that's played in recent history at the school. So getting that signing a little more press, that can help. It does get some interest, intrigue, you know. In terms of arena and indoor, you want to be able to find as much exposure on the local scene as possible. I know the IFL's trying to go big. That's their next step is they want to go national. They're trying to fill that power gap that the Arena Football League left for them when they went in bankruptcy in 2019. So they're trying to fill that void and make the next steps to that. That can help. I think Pindell helps on a local front, like what traditionally these leagues have been doing, and what makes them, I think, a little more fan engaging is that you have those guys that are more accessible and more upfront. So him being there and from that community, and playing in that community, that does help a lot. I think it does help bring some people in, and maybe they press that more. It's a little different because the guy that they're riding in on most of their press, even as much as they announced this signing, is still Benefield. So it's not you're not pressing him as your starting QB, which does make me scratch my head a little bit. But again, it's someone that you can say, hey, he's Connecticut nearby. He grew up near Worcester, so hey, he's back. He came here. I'm like, that's great. You can put that in the ads. I don't know if it does as much though if he's not starting in games. Is all I can say.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I guess another question with this is, do you think it matters that it's like a big, like, flagship type program? Or looking at some of the rosters in both the NAL and the IFL, you got guys like Adam Smith, record-setting D3 receiver for
Mm-hmm.
Guilford, which is in Greensboro. Even the Quad City Steamwheelers, new team in the IFL moving from the CIF. They have a guy, Mark Leon Johnson from Davenport University, 10 minutes away. And even you look at the Iowa Barnstormers, they got a guy, Brennan Holmes from Simpson College. Like all these are small schools, but they're like 20 minutes away, not even a commute. Like, so do you think it matters to have like a big local flagship guy or like even a very local, in these cases, a small college guy?
I think for the sake of at least team balance and also what's available to them, I think that getting those guys that are somewhat local does help. And it helps with local exposure. Again, that's key for a lot of these leagues. They want to connect with the communities. They want to be in those communities. Players like that grew up or played in those areas, they can also help with those market those communities better too. Um, but you want to touch back on star names and all that. I mean, the Pirates are no stranger to certain signings, of course. I mean, I want to talk about, I mean, Terrence Williams, for crying out loud, was on the roster all season last year. So that was kind of a big splashier one. You just have to hope with budget that you can make it work, is all, if you want to go with bigger name recognition. Because not everyone's going to be like, say, a Williams or like a Dexter McCluster who like ends his career with 1 year at Massachusetts. You know, those guys come at the tail end of their career or later on in their career where they have played through the ringer, essentially. So those don't always come up unless you are able to spend the big bucks, which the IFL really doesn't. I'll be frank, but that's the budget they're in. That's just the reality. I'm trying not to sugarcoat, but I'm just trying to give a perspective. I think in this case, local, like I said, I'll stress local, talent that's nearby, guys that have been in the scene for a while too. Those are your three pillars or your two pillars. I think that you want to go for. And I think, and this happens in the NAL as well. Albany does local recruiting too. Now, the only other time I've seen like some travel recruiting, like Carolina in the NAL is doing a few like countrywide like traveling recruiting type of things. It doesn't happen often, but I think more locally based like tryouts and things are what you look for. So that's probably your driving force compared to the big names. If you get a big name, great, but it doesn't happen often. It's usually a special situation. Even like a Martavius Bryant that showed up last year for the Pirates. His deal completely special. And he only played a few weeks, so you know it sometimes it just happens to land that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great point in terms of budget too. I mean, you mentioned so many like Massachusetts Pirates guys. I mean, I remember like reading through and doing my research. Yeah, Martavis Bryant, but like a guy like Marty Gilliard, a guy that
Yep.
I liked growing and watching the Big East in Massachusetts, and even looking at the stats from last year, they had Marquise Young from a couple weeks for out of UMass, a guy that I mean had a very solid career and was also in the East West Shrine game. I mean, just very very
Even
very solid remembering dudes content.
Garrett Hartley was who helped basically kick the Pirates to a championship. That was the final points in that contest. Was Garrett Hartley kicking a game-winning field goal in Arizona? That's another one. They're no strangers to getting these names, and ownership does have some good pockets if they want to get players like that. It's just that not every team can do that. That's the thing. And in more so in I think indoor scene than say like ever in outdoor, you know, it all depends on the owner and their dedication to what they want to spend. You know, um, to me, some people it comes off as a hobby, not as a business venture, is how I've looked at it in recent years.
Yeah, no, I can understand where that comes from, honestly. And I guess circling back on this point one more time, the two of the expansion teams in the
Mm-hmm.
IFL, they've sort of made news with some local signings too. You got the Vegas Nighthawks signing Dalton Sneed at the quarterback position, who finished his career with Montana State but played at UNLV. And I mean, I remember him for that really wild 91-yard run against Fresno State where he got pushed back into his end zone and somehow ran for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Made a few starts for UNLV, and then the Bay Area Panthers signed not only a bunch of guys that are from the area and may have gone away for college, but they signed Justin Holmes, a guy from San Jose State who had over 600 receiving yards in 2016, 1,100 in his career. Do you see getting these local guys as more of a focus for the expansion teams, like the newer, more unestablished teams, or more like a league wide thing?
I think overall it's still league wide. That's my honest opinion. Unless you're say, here's the two that I'll give examples, maybe three, four. of the teams that can be like, all right, maybe the local doesn't matter as much because of the ownerships that they have. So if you're not, for example, like an Arizona, a Massachusetts, a Frisco, or even even maybe like borderline Sioux Falls or Iowa, you're mostly going for local guys is how I see it. Expansion I think is a little more you want to establish your base early. So I think the emphasis you're right on. It's more you focus on getting the local talent and getting the local community buying into what this is. So for example, the Bay Area Panthers, formerly the Oakland Panthers, they're trying to build up in San Jose right now. Is actually on social recently. One of their coaches, John Schaefer, he posted that they did a dry run of a game recently. So getting things started. But you want to, you're talking they're signing on local guys or people that played in those markets. Like for example, Nighthawks getting Snead. Yeah, I think that helps with your early start to these at least these ventures. And for the Nighthawks, it's even more important because of the fact that they're the first truly fully owned IFL team right now that is owned with a major league ownership in the backfield. We saw that the Fighters now are being managed by the Dallas Stars in terms of financials, which is a massive, massive news piece for the movement of getting more recognizable for these leagues, especially the IFL. It's a massive stepping stone. So, Vegas, I think, wants to hit it off right. And in a town that has so much entertainment, you got to find something that draws you in. Smash Mouth football and also guys that played in the area, those are two things that can help you.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, good old Smash Mouth football, even, in the arena game too. Yeah, I mean, I think that's all I got for this. Really, I think it's great too. Just going back to our main topic with the Pindell signing too. I think if you're going to get a local guy, you want a guy as electrifying as him too. And, maybe he finds a Lamar Jordan type role, because that's a guy I found out about. I was kind of miffed that the game that the week after I had left for Georgia was the week that the Spokane shot came and Lamar Jordan ended up playing, because Lamar Jordan took New Mexico to some new heights with the option offense. And I mean, I'm an Army fan, love the option, love the triple option, and I still think New Mexico should run it. But yeah, I mean, an electrifying player that have returning kicks and everything. I mean, I think if you're gonna get a local guy, like, don't let it be a lineman. Let it be a guy like Pindell, who can make some plays and, is really like sort of a wild card too. So, but yeah, that's really all I got to say about this.
Mm-hmm. No, fair enough. Fair enough. You want to get those explosive names. I think that helps. But I think I also want to put in too. If you're getting someone that, say it's you're not getting the flashy, special, like at least specialist players like a receiver or a quarterback or running back. Look for guys that buy into your program, guys that want to give the extra mile. And I know that's hard to say when numbers for money's involved in the IFL still aren't as at least great as what I hope they can be someday, But I think that if you get someone that knows the area, and that's a valuable asset to marketing, especially social media, which the IFL has gotten that down much better than the other two big indoor arena leagues like the NAL or the CIF. They have done leagues of better than those two and have put the footwork in to where they now have a really good social platform. Getting guys that buy into that helps a ton. So, I mean, talent, you want to get the good talent, but I think people that are also, good personalities that maybe you can get an extra mile out of, that helps a lot. I think that's a piece you can look at and you can get a little bit extra out of for your brand. So take that in mind too.
Absolutely. And I mean, you say that, it just brings me back to the XFL, like the access that the
Yeah.
second edition of the XFL brought. And I hope the USFL does that as well too, with the player access. I'm not really sure. I haven't heard anything about that. Have you heard anything about the player access or?
All I can tell you is they are trying to make it much more more accessible than even I think the last one. I know that I know like Danny Garcia and Dwayne Johnson, they've talked at length about, they want to do like a TV series. I mean, think like Hard Knocks in a way, but XFL based. And they're hinting at like you can like they're trying to get stuff where you can see like game planning and like all this other stuff behind this closed doors week by week. And I hope that they do pull it off. We're supposed to be getting news this month. That's what The Rock has been claiming 3 weeks ago, that some point in February is when we're going to see stuff drop. Probably team names getting reconfirmed or broadcast deal, especially the broadcast deal. People want to know where the heck these games are going to be aired, considering the USFL has Fox and NBC in its corner. So everyone speculates, hey, so out of the options left, where do you go from that? That's what's going on with that. And talk about access. I mean, the XFL pinned it well. So you want to look at a league that you want to be aspiring to, even with or without, The Rock or Danny Garcia or Redbird involved with this version. Like Vince McMahon's version did a great job with that too. So I think that's a base standard for if you want to get exposure and people's piqued curiosities behind closed doors.
Absolutely too. I mean, yeah, it's just something different, because I mean the NFL, no fun league, so
Mm-hmm.
I mean no access to the players and the sidelines. I mean the one thing I always remember too, I was an adopted New York Guardians fan too, just being an hour away
Okay.
from MetLife. So I always remember the infamous Matt McGloin incident, calling out the coordinators and everything, which paved the way for Luis Perez, so who I'm still hoping gets an NFL shot, but probably my favorite alternative league quarterback out there.
That was so good. I still have one of my favorite moments online from that is you ever seen the scene in Simpsons where where the kids are going, stop, he's already dead. It's Homer that
Yeah.
unfortunately he attacks Krusty the Clown. That just imagine I just put that little clip over like that like retweeting a quote over him having to make that interview after like it was just like after Matt McGloin throws his third interception, he has to go over the sideline and answer that again. man, man had a rough day. Man had a rough time in that league in general, but I think it was for the best. Luis Perez, I too hope he gets another opportunity. Hopefully in the USFL. I mean, he could have put his name in for that. He played in the spring league, which the new version of its origins are technically in the spring league, so maybe he's in there. If not, he has to wait another year for the XFL. That's it, or really some months in the summer. More semantics.
Exactly. And I mean, I know we're going off track here, but I was heartbroken when Luis Perez's Jousters didn't win the title.
The
I was
Mega Bowl.
heartbroken. Yeah, and the Mega Bowl.
Still a funny name to me. I still that one lives in not in well it lives in legend. I was about to say infamy. I was like, it's not really infamous. It was a good game.
Oh, it was. It was absolutely a good game. I mean, I feel like, they kind of knew their place. Like, they're a spring league, and we're gonna have fun with the title, the Mega Bowl. I bet
Oh
someone
yeah.
watched semi-pro, like right before the meeting. That's all I could think about, the Flint Tropics. But
You check out the Topeka Tropics in the CIF.
I did. I was, yeah. I mean, I wasn't sure if they got permissions from the movie or whatnot, but I'm interested.
I, I'm definitely I. It would be an 8-hour drive for me, but it's one that I'm like really on the fence of like I'll take that drive just to go see that team play.
Man, you're tempting me to think about that myself. But man, no, this has been great. I'm looking forward to this IFL season two. I mean, especially I just found out doing my research at the Hall of Fame game as well. So just a loaded year for the
Yeah.
IFL. Just so excited. Thank you for coming on, Zach. Always a pleasure to. I mean, always pleasure to find someone interested in whether it's indoor, alternative, or any football. Football's football.
Likewise, the game's got to grow. It's a sport. It's a version of the sport that doesn't get enough coverage. It deserves more love. I'm glad that you and I can help at least maybe get some extra people curious to watch the YouTube streams this year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And not even YouTube. I think it's cool that some teams like the Spokane Shock got their games on local television too. So I
That
mean,
is
adjust
yes.
that antenna so you can catch the
See,
Spokane Shock.
see that local connection. I'm telling you, more teams need to get in, especially CW and my network TV stations. I'll be frank; those stations need content. Get with those
Yep,
guys, make local deals. That again puts you in
exactly.
that market, and that's something that the Rattlers have done a great job with. Just to add a bit extra piece, great way to end it though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah,
All
with
about
that,
local, baby.
all about local. Yeah, with that, my 50 KASY in Albuquerque. I'm pretty sure they do have the games already. But if they
Yeah,
don't, put the Duke City Gladiators
come on,
games
man.
on. But but yeah, no, this has been great. I've enjoyed it, Zach. And until next time, peace, love, and soul, everyone.